Before we dive into today's story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It all started with a quiet, sharp, dismissive chuckle. "Look at this guy," Officer Thompson whispered, nudging his partner as a tall black man in a tailored Navy suit stepped into the courtroom. "Bet he's one of those slick public defenders. Thinks he can outsmart the system." The man didn't flinch. He didn't even glance their way. He carried himself with calm dignity. Back straight, stride steady. He gave a respectful nod to the judge before taking a seat in the gallery, third row from the front. To the officers, he was just another face, another black man entering the courtroom. Before they saw anything else, they saw his skin. That was their first mistake. Outside, the media was buzzing about the case. A young black college student, Jeremiah Carter, 22, had been arrested 2 months earlier on charges of resisting arrest and assaulting an officer. The body cam footage had mysteriously vanished. Witnesses gave conflicting accounts, and Officers Thompson and Reed stuck to their story, claiming the kid was aggressive, threatening, even violent. The courtroom wasn't packed, but there was a palpable tension, as if everyone inside knew something bigger than a single trial was about to unfold. As the prosecution laid out its case, the two officers sat behind their attorney. Officer Reed kept glancing at the black man in the suit in the gallery, whispering something to Thompson. Another stifled laugh. "What's he even doing here? Probably some family member trying to look important," Reed said with a smirk. They didn't notice the quiet exchange between the judge and the man in the suit. They didn't see the respectful nods from the bailiffs as he passed by. They didn't catch the way the ADA stiffened slightly, spotting him in the audience. The man said nothing. He just watched. Jeremiah sat beside his public defender, hands clasped tightly in his lap. He looked worn, not just physically, but spiritually, as if the fight had left him long before he stepped into the courtroom. His mother sat behind him, hands wringing, whispering prayers with trembling fingers. The defense made its case. Jeremiah was walking home from a friend's apartment. He had earbuds in. He didn't hear the officers call out to him. When he turned, he saw them approaching fast, weapons holstered, but hands hovering nearby. He panicked, as any young black man in America might. He raised his hands. He told them he was unarmed, but they grabbed him anyway, shoved him down. Officer Reed took the stand, his voice dripping with performative certainty. "We began to fear for our safety," he said. Neither officer had bruises, no medical records, just paperwork and a story too many had heard too often. Then the defense rested, and the judge called a recess before closing arguments. That's when everything shifted. The man in the suit stood. He stepped forward, past the attorneys, past the stunned defendant until he was right before the bench. "Your Honor," he said calmly, his voice even and firm, "if I may, I'd like to briefly address the court." The judge sat up straighter, then gave a slight smile. "Of course, Director Brooks. The floor is yours." A visible ripple ran through the room. "Director? Brooks?" Officer Thompson tensed. "What the hell?" he whispered. The man turned slowly, addressing the courtroom. "My name is Nathaniel Brooks. I am the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Quiet gasps rose from the gallery. One woman covered her mouth. Jeremiah's mother nearly dropped her purse. Brooks continued, his voice measured but resolute. I'm here today not as the head of a federal agency, but as a black man in America. I came because I read the files on this case and saw a familiar story. I saw a young man judged for the condition of his skin. I saw missing footage. I saw inconsistencies. And most importantly, I saw two officers who failed to see the man standing before them. He looked directly at Officers Thompson and Reed. I've been stopped too. I've been followed in stores. I've had guns drawn on me while jogging in my own neighborhood. The only difference between Jeremiah Carter and me is the suit I wear and the title I carry. The room was silent. And I want everyone to think about what that means. If the man you mocked today was wearing a hoodie instead of a suit, you'd have dismissed him entirely. And that's exactly what you did to Jeremiah. He turned to the judge. Your Honor, I won't interfere with the ruling, but I ask this court to consider the pattern because this isn't about one night. It's about a system that too often mistakes presence for guilt and skin for threat. Then he turned to Jeremiah, his voice softening. You're not invisible, son. You matter, and you're not alone. The courtroom was still. No one laughed now. Officer Reed clenched his jaw. Thompson looked down, suddenly fascinated by the courtroom tiles. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. The verdict? Not guilty. Outside, the courthouse was swarmed with reporters. The story was already going viral. FBI Director stuns courtroom in trial of black teen. Clips of his speech spread faster than news anchors could narrate them. But Director Brooks didn't stay for interviews. He saw Jeremiah and his mother standing outside, shell-shocked and uncertain. Thank you, sir, Jeremiah said quietly, tears welling up. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did, Brooks replied, because one day it'll be your turn to do it for someone else. That evening, Officer Thompson turned in his badge. He didn't say much, just walked into the precinct, tossed it on the desk, and left. Officer Reed was placed on administrative leave, pending review, though City Hall had already issued a statement expressing deep concern over systemic failures. The next morning, Director Brooks was back in Washington. He sat at his desk, staring out his office window at the Capitol, thinking about the quiet war he'd fought his whole life, the countless times he'd bitten his tongue, clenched his jaw, and buried his rage, and how this time, just this once, he hadn't stayed silent. Respect should never be dictated by appearance. Justice shouldn't hinge on titles. And a person's worth should never be measured by the color of their skin. Not everyone in that courtroom left changed, but some did. And sometimes that's enough to start something. In a world where judgment often precedes understanding, one man's presence was enough to shake an entire system. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with those who need to hear it. Until next time, remember, sometimes the quietest voices carry the loudest truths.